of Sean. It's good to see you. I hope you've had an amazing day. If you've not had an amazing day for whatever reason, you picked the right place to show up because we're going to have a good time. Friday shows are always amazing on the Book of Sean. We cover a lot of ground. We deal with all of the topics, all that's going on. I give you a whole rundown, and I'm telling you, you want to get comfortable, get yourself some pie, get yourself something to drink, and let's get started. Let's do some headlines, people. So, by now all of you have heard that Will Smith has issued an apology to Chris Rock. I got the names right? Okay, good. Last time I did this, I got the names all backwards, but that Will Smith has issued an apology to Chris Rock, and indeed he should apologize. He posted an apology on Insta for that right there. He posted an apology on Instagram where Will Smith called his own behavior, unacceptable and inexcusable. And a lot of people talked about the slap when it happened. In fact, I talked about the slap when it happened. Let's see how many people talk about the apology. What I've learned that people love it when consternation and confrontation and conflict happens, and few people are willing to give as much attention to when people are trying to hold themselves accountable or have some kind of reconciliation. And it's important to acknowledge when you've done wrong. I think it's important, as Will Smith did in this post that he put on Instagram, it's important to acknowledge when you've done wrong, when you've not been in line with whatever it is you hold yourself accountable and the standards you believe yourself to be. But like I always say to you, though, and I want to say it to you now because I think it's true, confession is good for the sinner. It does very little for the victim. Confession cleanses the soul of the sinner. The perpetrator gets to cleanse his soul with an apology and with a confession. The sinner doesn't get much out of it. Will Smith's confession will not heal what happened to Chris Rock, no matter how many times he apologizes. And I'm not poo-pooing on apologies. I think apologies are actually important. They are important to receive and they're important to do. But let's be very clear that an apology is not going to fix or heal Chris Rock. Chris Rock still has to live with the trauma of what happened to him and what was done to him. And then you have to ask yourself another thing about this apology, and all apologies really. Keep that picture up there, by the way. And that is, you never quite know what people are actually apologizing for when they say I'm sorry. Because you don't know if people are regretting what they did and the consequences that came from what they did that they didn't expect, or if they're actually sorry for having done it at all. There's a difference between regretting what you did because the consequences came from doing it that you did not expect to happen. That's very different from being contrite. Regret and contrition are not the same things. And I don't know if Will Smith, and I'm glad you kept that picture up there, is actually sorry for what he did, or whether he's actually regretting the fact that the consequences that arose from what he did were so devastating and overwhelming. They are not the same thing. Because if I slap somebody and I'm really sorry about what I've done, I don't think I go to a party after. I don't think I go shake my tail feather. I'm really torn up about what I just did. And that's not what he did. He wouldn't shook what his mama gave him. I'm just asking questions because that's kind of what I do. See, for all the people who apologize and who need to give an apology for something that they've done, the real apology happens when you change your behavior. When your behavior is different and you are a better and different person, that's the real apology, not the I'm sorry. See, saying that you were sorry, it's not a moral accomplishment. It's the minimum requirement of what you should do when you know that you are wrong. People love to tell you, well, I said I was sorry, as if they have achieved some enlightenment or some high ethical standard. That's the minimum of what you should do. If you genuinely want to be contrite, then be a better person. If you genuinely want to be sorry, then be a different person. Because after you hurt somebody, the people that you hurt have a right not to believe what you say. In fact, after you hurt somebody, everybody that you've hurt have the right only to believe what you do. Let's move on. Let's talk about gas. This is one of the best stories in the history of the world right here. Listen to this, people. This week, nearly 400 gallons of gas were stolen from a North Carolina gas station. Surveillance footage showed a car pulling up near one of the pumps, and someone appeared to use the device to bypass the payment system. And then more than 15 cars pulled up behind them and filled up their gas tanks over the course of 45 minutes. And they walked away with $1,600 worth of gas. Okay, I don't agree with stealing, just to be clear. All right, so don't nobody send me no note. I don't agree with stealing at all. But this is ingenious. This is ingenious. And I'll tell you why. Everybody in America right now, everybody watching this show right now wants to know, what was this device that this person used to bypass paying for gas? You know you want to know. I know you saved and you love Jesus and you go to church. I got all that. But as soon as I told you that this person used a device to bypass paying for gas, your first thought was, what is the device? That was my only question, Steve-O. Can I get it on Amazon? Can I get it on eBay? Do I got to go down into the dark web to find one of these? Oh, here's the thing. Did the person who created this device, did they like develop it? I mean, are they that smart that they created a device that can bypass paying for gas? Because 400 gallons of gas were accrued or stolen for free. Did you hear what I just said? Listen, the people or the person who created this device should not go to jail, okay? I don't believe in stealing. I think stealing is a bad thing. We shouldn't steal and all that. But the person who created this device, if they created it, they should not go to jail. They should be hired by some company in Silicon Valley. Because if you can create something that helps me get free advice, how do you bypass the payment system? Do you know about this device? Here, if Steve-O don't know, then this had to be something this guy created. Because he knows everything. I'm just trying to tell you people, police, please don't arrest this man or woman and it would be a waste of genius to put them in jail. Because clearly they need to be in Silicon Valley helping us create something, okay? Because if you can come up with this, you are truly talented. I don't think you should steal gas. I think you should be on the up and up and all of that. But if you're going to steal it, at least be creative. At least be like this guy. Let's move on. Let's talk about Nick Cannon, okay? We've all heard by now that Nick Cannon's show will not be returning for a second season. And as many of you, I was rooting for Nick Cannon. And so it's sad to hear that his show will be coming to an end. But Nick Cannon is fine. He's got enough TV shows on different networks and all of that he'll be fine, okay? What's that, Wildin' Out and the Masked Singer? Nick's going to be fine. Unlike some of us, Nick can lose a show and still eat and have a roof over his head. Not me. I lose this show and I'm sleeping in the garage. But Nick will be fine. But I wanted to stop and just say a few words to him and honor and celebrate him for having such an amazing opportunity that most people don't get. Most people don't get to be on television. Most people don't get to enjoy what I get to enjoy doing each time that we gather. And very few black men have ever had a syndicated broadcast daytime TV talk show. Nick Cannon will always go down as one of the ones. One of the few black men, black people in general, but certainly few black men who've ever had the privilege of being in this position and doing it the way that he did. And I just think it's important that we celebrate the fact that whether he had the show for 6 months or for a year or for 6 years or for 60 years, having it at all was the accomplishment rather. The accomplishment was just being there, and he was there. And Nick, I hope you enjoyed every minute of it. I hope you enjoyed all the stress that goes along with TV and all the annoying things that can happen. I hope you enjoyed the audience and all of the great segments that you had and the great guests. I really hope that you brought yourself in doing it to a whole nother level of enjoyment. And I want to celebrate your courage and your ability. You see, sometimes the value of something isn't determined by what happens to it or whether or not people receive it or reject it. Sometimes the value of something, the real value of something, is sometimes determined by the effort and the intention you put into creating it. And whether his show lasts 6 months or a year or 20 years, the value of the show is what he put into producing it and making it. All of the energy and the humor and the wit and the intelligence and the ingenuity by which he sat in that chair and dared to make an hour of your life better than it was before you met him on the air. You see, sometimes the great artist has to create not just the work, but the standard by which the work will be judged and created, I should say. And a lot of times people don't know the value of what they have until they lose it. Did you hear what I just said? A lot of times people don't know the value of what you brought to the table until you're no longer at the table. And sometimes you have to leave for people to know that you were truly as gifted as you believed yourself to be. So, Nick Cannon, I wish you joy. I wish you lots of love, and I wish you lots of grace and respect. And I'm sure you'll get another opportunity soon to do all the great things that you do. And, come on my show. You can always come on whenever you like. Let's do one more before I take this break. Let's talk about the state of Oregon, people. This is an interesting story. Did you hear that the state of Oregon will no longer require people to live in the state of Oregon to have access to medically aided suicide? In Oregon, the Death with Dignity Act was enacted in 1997 and allows terminally ill patients and people in the state itself, in the state of Oregon, to end their lives through physician-assisted suicide. But now, because of several procedures taking place in the state, you don't have to live in Oregon to take advantage of this act, And I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, okay? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it because on the one hand, I'm definitely not into people killing themselves. On the one hand, I don't advocate and support suicide. It's just not something that I think we should be doing, considering, making it easier for people to do. But on the other hand, I'm not into people suffering either. I'm not into people going into arduous levels of endless cycles of pain and suffering. And so, to be quite honest with you, I'm very conflicted about what I think about what Oregon just did. In fact, I almost don't feel qualified to have an opinion about this because I haven't gotten to the stage of life where I'm old enough or sick enough to appreciate that level of suffering. I'm just too young and right now too healthy to understand like what someone has to be going through to think that they would just say to a doctor, let's just end this right now. It's an amazing thing. My mentor, Dr. Gardner Calvin Taylor, lived to be late in his 90s, almost 100 years old. And he would always talk about wanting to die. And I used to think he was crazy. I used to be like, what, are you crazy? You want to die? Like, what's wrong with you? But I was too young. I was too young to understand. Like, you get to a place where all your friends are gone, all your families are gone, and you're sick, and you can't do any of the things you like to do, and you can't leave the bed. I couldn't understand it. And at some level, I still don't understand it. To be honest with you, I still don't understand it. But I guess you can get to the stage of life where sickness and age becomes unbearable. So I'll end this segment by asking you this question. What would you do if you were terminally ill and suffering and you knew you were going to die eventually anyway? Would you want to die on your own terms or would you let the disease decide? Which one would you choose? Put your answers in the chat and let me know. And be kind to each other, okay? Don't be going after each other for saying you would want to end it sooner or you want the disease to decide because everybody has a different answer. Everybody has a different journey. But all of us will die. Not a way to end the segment, but that's what I'm going to do. We'll be right back after this with more headlines. Welcome back, everybody. So, the reason I love the Friday show so much is because I get to do a myriad of headlines in a lot of different directions. I bring you things that are funny, things that are emotional, things that are spiritual, things that are carnal. I'm just saying, we do it all. This headline is one that just annoyed the hell out of me, okay? This headline bothered me. I wanted to know who I could, let me say that because I'm on TV. All right, let's just get to the headline. So, Fredrick Wood was imprisoned for the 1976 kidnapping of a bus full of children, and apparently, that man has been approved for parole. Let's go over it again. Fredrick Wood was in prison for the 1976 kidnapping of a bus full of children, and he's eligible for parole. So, Mr. Wood, who is now 70, was one of 3 men who kidnapped 26 children and their bus driver from a small city in Northern California and then buried them alive in a quarry owned by his father. And he's up for parole? He's eligible for parole. He buried 26 children and their driver alive, and the state of California is making him eligible. Now, he hasn't gotten it yet, but the fact that he's even eligible for parole. Now, let me finish the story, because after 16 hours underground, the driver and the children were able to free themselves and escape while the kidnappers were asleep. And now 45 years later, Mr. Woods is eligible for parole. See, I know some of y'all don't believe in the police anymore. Okay, I got it. I don't agree with that. Some of y'all don't want there to be prisons anymore. I don't understand that. Because, you know, my litmus test is, you hurt my mama, I want you in jail and arrested as soon as possible. But some of y'all don't believe in that. Okay. I don't understand how somebody who buries children alive should be paroled. Now, you make me understand that. Go ahead. I'm going to sit right here until you make me understand how it is that somebody who buries children alive, I don't give a damn if they got out. They got free because Jesus is real. They didn't get free because he let them out. He had no problem with them children dying underground. You follow what I'm saying to you? Here's my problem with this. If you hurt children or old people, I ain't got no sympathy for you. That's where all my Jesus runs away, all my Gandhi, all my Martin King just falls right on off. If you hurt children or old people, if you hurt the elders or the kids, I got no sympathy for you, okay? I don't want you to get parole if you bury 26 kids. You shouldn't have parole. And nobody's going to convince me that that's the case, because the most vulnerable people in our society are elders and children. They could not defend themselves. They can't defend themselves. They have no strength. They have no ability. They have nothing. And you go after old people or kids, and then we give you parole? Now, I love California. I love living in California. California is my place. But what the hell are we doing in California? We've taken this a little too far, don't you? We might be giving parole to somebody who kidnaps children and buries them alive. Eh? And this guy was willing to bury children and ask for a $5 million ransom. He wanted $5 million. Thankfully, by the grace of God, the kids got out. I just think this, man. If you hurt kids, you should be in jail. Listen, you should get paroled if you sell weed. You should get parole for that. If you smoke weed, I don't mind if you get parole for that. If you steal a pair of Jordans, Steve-O, if somebody steals a pair of Jordans, you should get parole for that. You know what I'm saying? How about this one? If you steal some gas, $1,600 worth, you should get parole for that. But if you bury children alive, you should not get parole. And nobody's going to change my mind. So don't even try. Let's move on, man, before I start cussing. Because I feel a good cuss coming. And y'all know I'm good at it. I'm from Brooklyn. Anyway, let's talk about Florida. On Monday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the legislation banning certain instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity in the classroom in the state of Florida. The Don't Say Gay law. This is what Ron DeSantis signed, and this is the epitome of what I would call truly sad. It's truly sad. And not only is it sad, I'm not sure if it's constitutional. Because how can you have a law preventing people from talking about sexual orientation or gender identity in a country built on the principle of free speech? That can't be congruent. Like those two things, we call that in philosophy an antinomy. Those are two ideas that won't reconcile themselves together ever. That's an antinomy. You can't say gay, free speech. Come on, people. I'm hoping that the courts will strike this law down. But I'm not a lawyer, okay? Let me be very clear about this. I'm not a lawyer. I wanted to go to law school, but I never ended up there. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have no official formal legal training. Although I did take an undergraduate class in constitutional law, and I did rather well. So I could have been a lawyer, but I'm not a lawyer. So I'm not able to give anybody any legal advice or anything like that. I can't tell you if the law is constitutional or unconstitutional. No, I can't. I just have common sense. And I'm good at common sense. And if you make a law telling me that I can't talk about something in a country where I'm supposed to be free to talk about whatever I want, that sounds like a contradiction to me. But I want you guys to watch this behavior, because when I first put this on, I tried to tell all of us, watch this behavior. Watch the behavior when people first come for the gays. Sooner or later, they're going to come for the blacks and the browns and whoever else they don't like. See, what happens is you can't say gay today and you can't say black tomorrow. You can't say I'm transgender today and then tomorrow you can't say I was a slave. Come on now. Don't sit there and look at me. You know I'm right. So today we can't talk about, being fluid, but tomorrow we're not going to be able to talk about being segregated against. Because what happens is they use communities, weak and vulnerable communities, to see how far they can go. They create a law against talking about being gay today, and then tomorrow they create a law about teaching about segregation and Martin Luther King tomorrow. And don't think that that's ridiculous, because the gay law was just a test case to see how much we would let them get away with. And they're coming back for more. Around the country, Republicans are pushing a bunch of bills that would further marginalize LGBTQ people. And it's just a test, because they're looking to marginalize just far more than just LGBTQ people. Excuse me for that. If you think that white folks in Florida are going to stop with the gays, you're being naive. Ron DeSantis is a disgrace to everything democracy is supposed to be about. And he's only doing it because he wants to be the president of the United States. And he thinks the way to win a country built upon freedom and equality and free speech and democracy, supposedly, is to further the goal of censorship and discrimination. You see, evil never knows when to stop. It never knows when to pull up and just say that's enough. And because it never knows when to stop, I promise you it's going to keep going. Here's my point. Florida will not be the end of the foolishness. There's going to be some foolishness coming to your town very soon. And I hope when it does, you'll stand up for truth. I hope when they come for the gays in your town, that you won't sit around and say, well, because I'm not gay, I don't care. You're going to wish you had. Let's move on, Steve-O, because that was good. All right, let's talk about China banks. So banks in China and investment firms are asking essential staff to live at the office this week to avoid trading disruptions due to the Shanghai massive COVID lockdown. Did you hear that? Maybe you didn't. I'm going to say it again. Banks and investment firms are asking people to sleep and live at the office for a week while the country is on a serious lockdown. So traders and fund managers are being offered money to camp out at work, with some companies putting folding beds and mattresses and sleeping bags that you just saw under people's desks. Listen, I like this job. Like, I really like this job that I have. I like this job. This is a great job. I like the people that I work with here. All the guys, all the girls are great. Nicole, Stephanie, Hiley, D. King, John, 2-3, Bruto, Steve-O. Everybody's great. Saul, G. I give people nicknames. Everybody's great here. Love all these people. These are wonderful people. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not sleeping here with these people. Okay? I'm not doing it. I'm not sleeping in this office. I don't care how essential this show is for anybody. And I know this show is essential for people's lives, because I know you love it, I love it too. But I'm not sleeping in this office to do it. Okay? Do you have any idea how much money you would have to offer me to get me to sleep in this studio? Do you have any idea how much money we will be talking about? So apparently, in China, in the banks in China, investment firms, they've been offering, check this out. They've been offering people between $78 and $314 per night to camp out at work. $78 and $314 per night. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm trying not to act ignorant on TV. If this company came to me and said, we give you $314 to spend the week at the studio. Listen, we can't even talk about me sleeping in the studio unless we're talking about $5,000 a night. That's when we can begin the conversation. You think I'm staying in the studio for $314 a night? You must be crazy. What is wrong with these people? You gotta know your value, man. Don't be scared to tell people no. Sleeping in the studio for a week, sleeping in the bank for a week, sleeping in your job for a week, and they want to offer you $314 a night. You must not think I'm that essential. Because you can tell your value by how much people are willing to pay for what you do. Talk to me now. People love to talk about how essential you are and how much value you bring to the table, but then they don't want to pay you what you deserve. And then they ask you to do more and they don't want to pay you for that. And they want to come right behind you and tell you that you are so essential. Well, prove how essential I am. If you're asking me to go above and beyond what I'm responsible for, then compensate me at the level of my sacrifice, or at least compensate me at the level of my value if you can't reach my sacrifice. Huh? Huh? Yeah. So I love Fox Soul, but y'all want me to sleep in this damn studio. We starting at $5,000. All right, real quick, let me show you a video. This is some of the best things I get to see all week. I want to show you one of them. Play the bumper real quick. Best things I've seen all week. All right, watch this video of a snack bandit who got caught red-handed, people. Watch this.
Dylan, get out of the front. What the? Dylan. Open it. Dylan. Dylan, why is all these Cheetos on the floor? Dylan.
What's the kid in the little thing there? That was great. That made my week, boy. He's a little kid. How come you didn't laugh? You have no soul. That was so funny. Let's take a break while I recover. Welcome back, everybody. Still laughing at that video. Little kid stuck up in the little thing. Kids are something else, man. All right, let's do some more best things that I've seen all week, people. You gotta have some excitement when you do best things. You know what I'm saying? If you all chill, chill is not the attitude for best things. Here's one of the best things that I've seen all week. Recently, Pope Francis met with a group of leaders from the indigenous community in Canada who were meeting with him seeking an apology for the harm inflicted against the indigenous children in Canada for what was called residential schools. Some of the largest indigenous communities in Canada want the Catholic Church to apologize for its role and for the role it played in developing schools that harmed indigenous children. Pope Francis met with the indigenous community leaders, and here's why I wanted to do this story, because all these people want is an apology. They just want someone to acknowledge the harm that was done to them. They're not asking for reparations, although they should. They're not asking for money, although they should. They just want somebody to acknowledge the fact that hurt and harm and injury was committed against them, and that something happened to them that was horrible. That's all they want. Here's what I never understand. Why is it so hard for Europeans and European institutions and European powers to apologize for what they have done to the members of other nationalities and races? Why is it so hard for Europeans to say, I'm sorry for the atrocities that they've committed against other people? Why is that so difficult? Like, why do they have to meet with the Pope to get the Catholic Church to say, you know what, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have ruined your children in our horrible schools. that sought to erase their culture and commit cultural, psychological, and maybe even literal genocide. Why did it have to come? Why did it have to beg somebody to apologize for that? The ability to see that you've done something wrong at least signals to the fact that you understand that what you did was wrong. I mean, the ability to see that you've done something wrong says that you know that you did something wrong. And the inability to say it says that you might think that what you did was right or innocuous or, benign, when in the eyes of the victim, it clearly wasn't. The inability to admit error suggests, in no uncertain terms, that you don't see a problem in the harm that you caused. And you ought to see a problem when you harm somebody. And your humanity ought to be intact enough for you to be able to say and see this was wrong. Do you know that in America, there has been no formal apology, no formal governmental official apology made to African Americans for slavery? The United States government has never officially, as a government, all three branches, all the institutions aligning themselves behind it, apologized for slavery. I think Bill Clinton uttered an apology as President of the United States 20-something years ago. But the government itself has never told black folks we're sorry for raping and pillaging and stealing your ancestors and subjecting them to the awful endless cycle of bone-crushing, soul-crushing slavery. But y'all do know slavery was wrong, right? Right? Like, you do know that slavery was wrong, that you shouldn't have did it. And the inability to apologize for it makes me believe that maybe you don't know that. And the fact that you won't apologize for it, the fact that you won't apologize for what you did wrong, it corrupts every time you try to do something right. But here's the last thing I'm going to say about this. The absolute inability to apologize tells me that you're not ready for change. And more importantly, it tells me that this will probably happen again. And that's a problem. Let's move on. All right, here's another best thing that I've seen all week. President Joe Biden signed into law on Tuesday a law making lynching a federal crime. Did you guys see about this? So the law is called the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act of 2022. And it's great. It's a great law. That's him signing it. But here's my point. This probably should have happened a long time ago, don't y'all think? Don't y'all think that we should have had a Emmett Till anti-lynching law long before 2022? Right? I mean, Tuesday was the day the government decided that lynching should be a federal crime. Tuesday? Y'all just thought about this on Tuesday? This is concerning me, okay? So let me check this out. Messing with the mail has been a federal crime as long as I've been alive, but not lynching. No, I got some more. I got some more for you, okay? Check this out. Do you know, Steve-O, it is a federal crime to write a check for less than $1. Did you know that? Yeah, it's a federal crime. That is a law, a federal crime, but not lynching. Here's another one for you. There's a federal law against issuing a false weather report. You cannot issue a official false weather report and not be sanctioned by the government. Here's my favorite one. Okay, check this out. Oh, here's the code. So for the check, writing a check for less than $1 is U.S. Code 18, Section 33.6. Google it. But here's my favorite one. I just want to give him that one because he didn't believe there's a law against writing a check for less than $1. But here's my favorite one. U.S. Code 40, Section 8103, Section B. There is a federal law against injuring a government lamp. But up until Tuesday, lynching was not a federal crime. You can't make this stuff up. All right, so let's do the last best thing that I've seen all week. I got a video of a grandfather, and this one almost made me cry. Let's look at it.
Happy birthday. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Papa. Happy birthday to you.
He's so happy. I love it when people are happy. He's so happy. You see that? He is so happy with a birthday cake, man. That gets me. I love seeing people happy. I love seeing people touched, you know? And here he is, the old guy, grandpa. He's just moved like a kid, man, enjoying his birthday. I wish everybody could feel that way. I wish everybody could feel the way he felt at least once a day. You just move to tears, not because you're sad, but because you're so damn happy. That's what I'm talking about, man. Anyway, I'm going to be really damn happy when we come back. Let's take a break. We're going to do some Ask Dr. Sean, people. Bam! Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Listen, you guys always send me great videos, great questions. So let's do some Ask Dr. Sean. Yes, I got the video sent in by Tevin. Let's take a look at it.
Hey, Dr. Sean. My name is Tevin, and I have a friend that is constantly using most of their money to fund their music career. I support their dreams, but Dr. Sean, it's just not good music at all. The skill level is not there, and I don't want to see them waste their potential. How do I tell them to shift their focus or maybe invest in something that is fruitful without sounding too judgmental?
Well, what you do is you mind your business. I came right out of that swinging, didn't I? Yeah, if he's not borrowing your money, that's his money. And he gets to take his money and do whatever he wants to do with it. That's his business. I think as a friend, as long as he's not asking you for your money, trying to, get, borrow, steal, then you stay out of it. You mind your business and support your friend down this, what you think is a misadventure. Because that's your job as a friend. And if your friend, if he asks you what you think, then you tell him the truth. But you don't need to volunteer being the executioner of someone's dream. And bad music to you may not be bad music to somebody else. There are a lot of bad music on the radio. I don't know how the hell they got on the radio. Listen, I'm at a radio station all the time, and some of the music that I hear, I think to myself, what are these people doing on the radio? I don't think The Weeknd should be played on the radio. People around here love them. If I was The Weeknd's brother, I'd have told him, bro, why don't you go and be a teacher or something? And then he would have missed out making a kabillion dollars listening to my dumb self. Because what do I know? Bad music to you may not be bad music to other people, and he may end up doing really well. Here's my point. Love people enough to let people make their own mistakes and have their own journey and their own future and their own story, their own legend. And him failing at music may be a part of his legend. The legend that ends with him actually being great and good and celebrated and on the radio. And you or I won't want to listen to him, but a lot of people will. I just think we ain't got to, we live in a world people think they just need to run their mouths about everything. You don't need to run your mouth about everything. You have an opinion, you get to have an opinion. I would only give my friend my opinion about what they're doing if I was asked. Like if I wasn't asked, I'm going to stay out of it and love my friend. Because that's the test of love. Can you love me when I'm wrong? Can you love me when I'm off on a misadventure? Can you love me when I'm not doing what you think I should be doing and I'm not doing it in a way that you think it should be done? Can you love me anyway? Because if you can't love me when I'm wrong, then you probably don't love me enough. And you might not love me at all. So this is not really a test of your friend's commitment to his dream. This is a test of your commitment to your friend. If asked, tell the truth. If he asks you for your money, tell a lot of truth. But as long as your money ain't on the table and he ain't hurting himself, then you just watch and pray and celebrate and hope it all ends up wonderful for him. It did for The Weeknd. Let's do questions. Somebody DM'd me. My friend finally escaped a physically abusive marriage, but instead of being happy to finally not have to look over her shoulder every night, she is depressed and regrets her decision. I don't understand how she feels, but I want to be there for her. How can I help her? All right, this is another straight and direct answer that I'm going to give you. And the answer is you can't help her. You're not qualified to help her. She is the victim of an abusive relationship, and she's internalized that abuse, and it's become home, something that she misses, and as you say, I'm assuming you hear it from her, something that she regrets, leaving. Nobody in their right mind would regret leaving being abused, unless, of course, you're not in your right mind. So the way you love your friend is to empower your friend to get into a counseling, therapeutic, I was going to say, situation where they have an ongoing advocate who can help them filter and work through the trauma. Because that's what your friend is dealing with. When you start to miss your brutalizer, what's that called, the Stockholm Syndrome? When you start to miss your brutalizer and you start to identify more of your life with the person that hurts you than you do with the people who are trying to help you, is because you've been thoroughly brainwashed, thoroughly seduced by the darkness. And that is not a let's talk about this over wine and cheese, or let's go to the movies, or let's take a spa day, or walk in the sand kind of situation. That needs serious, therapeutic, consistent attention. But here's the good news. If she gets the help that she needs, she can be as free as you want her to be. And she can be as powerful as you believe your friend to be worthy of if she gets in the right care situation. So your job as a friend is to make sure that she understands that what she went through and the abuse that she had to live with is serious enough to be taken seriously. You don't just get abused and just keep moving like nothing happened. You need to stop, talk about it, assess it, understand it, so that you can overcome it. Your job is to make sure that your friend takes her story, her journey, and most of all, her pain seriously. Because if she does that, she'll get over the fallacy of believing that she left something worthy of staying with. Yeah, I wish you well. I wish her well. She's going to be all right. Because I know the same creator that got her out of it is the same creator that's going to take her to where she's supposed to be. I want to thank you for being a good friend, too. I know you don't understand what she's doing, but you don't need to understand it. It's not your story. It's not your journey. It's just your job to talk her through it. Lord have mercy. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I don't know why saying that makes me laugh, but it always does. Anyway, Ron sent me a video. Let's watch it.
Hey, Dr. Sean. My name is Ron, and I need some advice. Gas prices are soaring, and I have a friend that rides with me often. Should I start asking for compensation?
Wait, play that again. I couldn't hear the beginning. Play that again.
Hey, Dr. Sean. My name is Ron, and I need some advice. Gas prices are soaring, and I have a friend that rides with me often. Should I start asking for compensation?
Okay. I didn't hear the gas prices part. Okay, so thank you for playing that again for me in the studio. Man, that's kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't. I personally, if I'm going if I'm taking someone somewhere, yes, maybe. Like if I'm consistently taking you somewhere and I wasn't going there, right? Then I might say, could you give me a couple of dollars? And that it would have to happen all the time. Like you're calling me at least 2 times a day, asking me to take you somewhere. That's the only way I'm going to ask you for money for gas. But if I'm going somewhere already, and then you ride with me, and I was already going, I personally just don't feel like that it's right for me to ask you for money because I was going there anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you took me out of my way. Not like you added something to my agenda. You added a couple of miles on my gas tank. I was already going. And your question seemed to suggest that they ride with you all the time. Not that they ask you to do certain things outside of your normal agenda. So I wouldn't think it would be ethical for you to ask them to give you, well, let me say this. It's not ethical for you to expect them to give you money for gas. Now, if you ask because you need it, there's nothing wrong with that. If you really need help paying the gas and they're there and they may have it, there's nothing wrong with asking. I'm saying the expectation that somebody should be giving you gas money when they're riding with you to places that you're already going to. That doesn't sound ethical to me, and I'm pretty good at knowing what sounds ethical. Maybe a better way to deal with this is to let the person know what your needs are, what you're struggling with. Don't make the situation where you are sort of holding someone in some sort of faux accountability. Don't make it about accountability. Don't even make it about reciprocity. Make it about the fact that you are not able to be honest. It's going to make you seem vulnerable. They say, look, the gas is too much, and I can't afford to do this by myself. Can you help me? Can you help me? Let's try it again. Can you help me? Not that you're obligated to do something for me or to me, but can you help me? People respond better when they feel like what they're doing is adding and aiding you. And when you let people into your story, they're more likely to help you with your struggle. That was good. I'm just trying to tell you. So anyway, good luck with that. And, hopefully gas prices will go down soon and this question will be mute in adiaphora. Anyway, my last one. So someone emailed me this question. My pastor barely preaches at his church anymore. Every Sunday, instead of him preaching, he invites a guest speaker. And the guest speakers are not great. And I'm ready to leave his church. Should I tell my pastor why I want to leave or just leave quietly? All right. I'm going to answer your question, but I want to start with the other stuff that you said first. And I want to invite you to ask yourself whether or not you feel or you actually know why he isn't, I'm assuming it's a he, I think you said a he isn't preaching every week. Do you know why he's not preaching every week? There may be something going on. He could have a sick child. His marriage could be in trouble. He could have a health problem. He could be burnt out. He could be in despair. He could be depressed. You don't know why people aren't doing something. And we just jump to conclusions because of how what they're doing happens to be affecting us. I tell you this all the time. Every sin has a story. Every struggle has a narrative. And there's a reason why, trust me, there's a reason why the man is not preaching in his pulpit. Take it from me when I tell you this. There could be things going on in the church that makes him not want to get up there and preach because he's so frustrated and flustered and flabbergasted and just done with the foolishness of the deacons or the whoever. He don't feel like doing it. And he can't bring himself. You don't know why he's not doing it. I don't understand. Christians, and I'm not beating up on you, but Christians are some of the worst people on the planet. But you get more love in a bar. You get more love in a strip club sometimes than you do in a church. Because in the church, people just jump right to the most negative connotations and this black and white, right? And no appreciation for the gray, no appreciation of what might be going on in places you don't see and in ways you don't know. Before you rush out to church, why don't you pray for your pastor? That was so good, I could just walk off right now. I mean, before you lambast him for not doing his job, pray for the reasons why he might not be doing the job the way you want him to. And show him some grace and some mercy. And I'm sure there have been times in your journey with him where he had to show you grace and mercy and forgiveness and cover some of the things you were not doing right and wrong, as I know pastors often do. It's amazing when you're a minister, people bring all their mess to you and you cover it and you deal with it under behind closed doors. But the moment you have something, everybody brings it out into public, like you shouldn't get the grace that you gave everybody else. But you asked me if you should leave the church. I think you should grow. I think you should become a better Christian and not make your religion or your membership in a church based upon whether or not the pastor preaches or whether or not the guest ministers are good. I don't know if you should leave the church. I don't know if you're being fed or not. You said the preachers weren't good. I don't even know what that means. So I don't know if you should leave or you shouldn't leave, but I do know this. You shouldn't jump to conclusions. That's what I know. Because jumping to conclusions will always make you end up in places you ain't supposed to be. So good luck with that. Great show tonight, don't you think? I mean, a fantastic show. An opportunity really to talk about a lot of things in a lot of different directions and in a lot of different ways. And what I love about what we do on Friday is that we have the ability to just look at the world as it is and to look at the state of the world as we get to view it on the Book of Sean each time we gather, particularly on Fridays. I want to leave you with this. The state of the world is not easy and it's not peaceful right now. There's a lot going on, but there's also a lot of good being born. Decency is still flourishing and kind people are still walking around. And don't be so jaded and so cut off to what might be happening in one part of your life that you ignore the joy that's being born in another part of your life. So between now and the next time I see you, remember to dance, remember to love, remember to celebrate, eat good food, you know what I'm saying? Watch you a good movie and a good show and enjoy the life you have, because that's all the life you're going to get. Y'all be good to each other. I will see you soon, my beloved people. I love you. How about that? And I mean it.